Before we begin tonight's journey through the history of ancient Egypt, take a moment to get comfortable. Dim the lights, settle into your favorite sleeping position, and allow yourself to relax. If you enjoy relaxing history stories like this one, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. It truly helps the channel grow and allows me to create more peaceful journeys through history for you. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let the worries of the day begin to drift away. Tonight, we will travel back more than 5,000 years to the land of the Nile, the pyramids, and the ancient pharaohs. So close your eyes, relax, and let the story begin. Tonight, we are traveling back more than 5,000 years to a land where the world's greatest river brought life to an endless desert, a place where towering pyramids reached toward the stars, where mighty pharaohs ruled and ancient temples echoed with prayers to forgotten gods. This is ancient Egypt. Before we begin, make yourself comfortable. Dim the lights. Close your eyes whenever you feel ready. There is nothing you need to do now. Nowhere else you need to be. Simply relax and allow the story of one of history's greatest civilizations to gently carry you toward sleep. Imagine standing quietly on the banks of the Nile River. The air is warm. A soft breeze moves across the water. Birds glide peacefully overhead. In the distance, farmers slowly tend their fields. Small wooden boats drift along the calm river. Everything moves at an unhurried pace. The Nile is more than a river. It is the heartbeat of Egypt. Every year, its waters rise, leaving behind rich black soil, turning the desert into fertile land. Without the Nile, ancient Egypt could never have existed. Over thousands of years, kingdoms would rise, great cities would flourish, magnificent monuments would be built, and legends would be born. Tonight, we will explore them all, slowly, calmly, one peaceful chapter at a time. So, take one slow breath, let your thoughts become lighter, and together, let us begin our gentle journey into the timeless world of ancient Egypt. Now, let your mind drift gently toward the great Nile River. Long before great cities appeared, long before towering pyramids rose above the desert, there was only the river, flowing quietly, year after year, century after century. The Nile was unlike any other river in the ancient world. It carried fresh water across a land surrounded by endless sand. To the east, the desert stretched far beyond the horizon. To the west, another vast sea of golden dunes waited in silence. But between those deserts, the Nile created a narrow ribbon of life. Every summer, heavy rains fell thousands of kilometers away, deep within the highlands of Africa. Weeks later, those distant rains reached Egypt. The river slowly overflowed its banks, The flood waters spread across the land, not with destruction, but with life. As the waters gently disappeared, they left behind dark, fertile soil, rich enough to grow wheat, barley, vegetables, and countless date palms. Without this yearly flood, ancient Egypt could never have become one of the world's greatest civilizations. For the people who lived beside the Nile, the river was far more than water. It was their food, their road, their source of life. Boats moved slowly along its calm surface, carrying stone, wood, food, and travelers from one village to another. Children played near the riverbanks. Farmers worked patiently beneath the warm sun. Fishermen cast their simple nets into the quiet water, hoping for another peaceful day's catch. Each morning, the sun rose over the eastern horizon, painting the river with soft shades of gold. Each evening, the sky slowly turned orange, then deep blue, as thousands of stars appeared above the silent desert. Life followed the rhythm of the Nile, not the rhythm of clocks, not the rush of busy cities, only the slow, gentle, timeless flow of the river. And as the Nile continued its endless journey north, so too did the story of ancient Egypt begin. As the centuries quietly passed, the fertile banks of the Nile began to change. What had once been open wilderness slowly became home to small families, then villages, and finally, entire communities. The first people who settled here lived simple and peaceful lives. They built small homes using mud from the river, mixed with straw, and dried beneath the warm Egyptian sun. These homes were not grand. They were not meant to last forever, but they provided shelter from the heat of the day and the cool desert nights. Every morning, as the first rays of sunlight touched the Nile, families woke together. Some walked to the fields. Others prepared fishing boats. Children helped gather water or cared for small animals near their homes. Life moved gently, following the changing seasons. The river decided when to plant. The river decided when to harvest. And the people learned to live in harmony with its quiet rhythm. Over time, the villages became larger. People began trading with one another. Clay pots, stone tools, woven baskets, grain, fish, and beautiful handmade jewelry passed from village to village. Slowly, skills improved. Artists carved elegant shapes into stone. Craftsmen created colorful pottery. Builders learned stronger ways to shape homes, store food, and protect their communities. Although these early Egyptians had no mighty pyramids, no enormous temples, and no famous pharaohs, they were laying the foundations of one of history's greatest civilizations. Generation after generation, knowledge was passed from parents to children. Simple traditions became lasting customs. Small villages became growing towns, and little by little, the story of ancient Egypt moved quietly toward a new beginning, a time when powerful leaders would unite the land, and the age of the pharaohs would finally begin. As the years quietly turned into centuries, the small villages along the Nile continued to grow. Some became larger than others. Strong leaders emerged, guiding their people through peaceful times and difficult seasons alike. Little by little, the land beside the Nile became divided. To the south lay Upper Egypt, a land of narrow valleys, towering cliffs, and fast-moving waters. To the north, the river opened into a vast green delta. This was Lower Egypt. Its marshes, canals, and fertile fields stretched toward the Mediterranean Sea. For many generations, these two lands lived apart. Each had its own ruler, its own traditions, its own symbols. Sometimes they traded peacefully. Sometimes they competed for power. But history was slowly moving toward a remarkable moment. Around 5,000 years ago, a powerful king rose in Upper Egypt. Many historians believe his name was Narmer. Others know him as Menes. Whether they were the same person or two different rulers remains one of history's oldest mysteries. What matters most is what happened next. The two kingdoms were brought together. Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt became one united land. For the first time, a single ruler wore the double crown, a symbol of unity, strength, and responsibility. This ruler became the first pharaoh, not simply a king, but a guardian of the entire kingdom. To the people of ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was more than a leader. He protected the land. He maintained order. He honored the gods, and he ensured that the life-giving waters of the Nile would continue to bless the kingdom. With the land finally united, a new chapter had begun. The foundations of one of the greatest civilizations in human history were now firmly in place, and in the centuries ahead, great cities, magnificent temples, and the first pyramids would slowly rise beneath the Egyptian sun. Now, let us leave the royal palaces behind and quietly visit the ordinary people who live beside the Nile. As the first light of dawn spread across the river, a peaceful village slowly awakened. The air was cool. The water reflected the soft colors of the morning sky. Birds glided low over the reeds, and somewhere in the distance, a fishing boat gently drifted across the calm river. The day had begun. For most families, life followed a familiar rhythm. There was no hurry, no crowded streets, no sound of machines, only the quiet voices of neighbors, the gentle splash of water, and the whisper of the wind across the fields. Farmers walked slowly toward their land. Simple wooden tools rested on their shoulders. Behind them, oxen patiently pulled small plows through the rich black soil. The earth was soft, thanks to the yearly flooding of the Nile. Seeds were carefully scattered by hand. Each harvest depended on nature and on patience. Nearby, women prepared fresh bread. The smell of warm grain filled the air. Large clay ovens glowed gently, while children carried baskets or helped grind wheat into flour. Along the river banks, fishermen cast woven nets into the water. Sometimes they caught enough fish for a single family, sometimes enough for the entire village. Everything the Nile offered was accepted with gratitude. Craftsmen spent long hours shaping beautiful pottery. Others carved stone, worked with wood, or carefully painted colorful decorations onto everyday objects. Even simple tools were often made with remarkable care. As the afternoon sun grew warmer, many people rested beneath the shade of palm trees. Conversations became quieter. The river continued its endless journey north, never rushing, never stopping. When evening finally arrived, families gathered together once again. Simple meals were shared. Stories were told. Children listened carefully. As older generations spoke about the river, the stars, and the gods who watched over Egypt above them, the night sky slowly filled with countless stars. The desert became silent. The cool evening breeze returned, and another peaceful day along the Nile came gently to an end. As the generations quietly passed, the kingdom of Egypt continued to grow. Each new pharaoh hoped to leave behind something that would outlast a lifetime, something that would stand long after the winds had changed, and long after the people who built it had returned to the earth. It was during this time that an extraordinary idea began to take shape. Not a palace, not a temple, but a monument, unlike anything the world had ever seen. The pyramid. At first, these royal tombs were simple. They were built low to the ground, using sun-dried bricks. But over time, the designs became more ambitious. Stone replaced mud brick. Builders learned new skills. Architects imagined greater heights. And with every generation, their knowledge quietly grew. Then, during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, one remarkable project began. On a wide plateau beside the Nile, thousands of skilled workers gathered with a single purpose: to build a monument that would reach toward the sky. Massive blocks of limestone were carefully cut, patiently transported, and placed one by one. There were no powerful machines, no modern cranes, only careful planning, patient hands, and years of dedicated work. Day after day, season after season, the pyramid slowly rose above the desert. Its smooth white limestone surface once reflected the bright Egyptian sun so brilliantly that it could be seen from many miles away. To the people of ancient Egypt, the pyramid was not simply a tomb. It was a symbol, a bridge between earth and the eternal heavens, a place where the pharaoh's journey would continue forever. Even today, after thousands of years, the Great Pyramid still stands, quietly watching as the sun rises and sets across the endless desert, a silent reminder of human patience, skill, and imagination. And as the warm desert wind continues to sweep gently across the stones, the Great Pyramid still whispers its ancient story. Not far from the Great Pyramid, another ancient wonder waits patiently beneath the Egyptian sky. For thousands of years, it has watched the sunrise, it has watched the sunset, it has watched kingdoms rise and kingdoms disappear. This is the Great Sphinx, carved from a single piece of natural limestone. The Sphinx rests quietly on the edge of the Giza plateau, its body strong like a lion, its face calm and thoughtful, looking endlessly toward the eastern horizon. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight appear, the ancient statue is gently illuminated, just as it has been for thousands of years. No one knows every secret hidden within its weathered stone. Historians continue to study it. Archaeologists continue to ask questions. And even today, some mysteries remain unanswered. Many believe the face of the Sphinx represents Pharaoh Khafra. Others wonder whether its story may be even older. The desert wind has slowly shaped its surface, grain by grain, century after century. Yet it still remains silent, patient, unmoving. Around the Sphinx, the sands have come and gone. Many times, empires have risen, travelers have arrived. From distant lands, artists, writers, and explorers have all stood quietly before it, filled with wonder. At night, when the stars appear above Giza, the Sphinx seems almost timeless. Its great stone body blends gently into the darkness, while the cool desert air moves softly across the ancient plateau. Perhaps its greatest mystery is not who built it or exactly when, but how, after so many thousands of years, it still inspires curiosity, respect, and quiet imagination. And so, the silent guardian of Egypt continues its endless watch, peacefully beneath the stars. As the sun slowly crossed the sky, the people of ancient Egypt believed they were never truly alone. Every river, every gentle breeze, every harvest, and every sunrise was connected to the gods. These powerful beings were not distant, they were part of everyday life. When the morning sun appeared, many believed it was Ra, the great sun god, beginning his endless journey across the heavens. As daylight faded, Ra was said to travel quietly through the mysterious world of night, only to return again. With the coming dawn, the steady flow of the Nile, was also seen as a precious gift. Without its waters, there would be no fields, no harvest, no villages, only endless desert. Many people offered quiet prayers, giving thanks for another season of life. Among the most respected gods was Osiris, the wise ruler of the afterlife. He represented renewal, hope, and the promise that life continued even after death. Beside him stood Isis, known for her wisdom, her kindness, and her deep devotion. Her stories were shared from one generation to the next. Watching silently was Horus, the falcon-headed god whose sharp eyes were believed to protect the kingdom. His symbol, the Eye of Horus, became one of ancient Egypt's most enduring signs of protection, healing, and peace. Then there was Anubis, the quiet guardian of the tombs. With the head of a jackal, he guided souls on their final journey. To many Egyptians, he was not a figure to be feared, but one who offered comfort. During life's greatest mystery across Egypt, beautiful temples rose beside the Nile. Their tall columns reached toward the sky. Their stone walls were covered with colorful carvings and sacred symbols. Priests walked slowly through quiet halls. The gentle scent of incense filled the air. Soft prayers echoed beneath the massive ceilings. For the people, faith was woven into every part of daily life. From sunrise to sunset, from birth to old age, the gods were always near. And as evening settled across the golden sands, the temples grew quiet once more. The stars appeared, one by one, above ancient Egypt, and somewhere beyond the calm waters of the Nile, the old stories continued to live in the peaceful hearts of those who believed. As the years quietly passed, the people of ancient Egypt began to think deeply about one timeless question: what happens after life comes to an end? For them, death was not the final chapter. It was simply the beginning of another journey, a peaceful path leading toward the eternal world. Because of this belief, great care was taken to prepare for the life beyond. The body was treated with deep respect, not out of fear, but out of hope. Hope that one day the soul would return and continue its endless journey. This careful process would later become known as mummification. It was not completed in a single day. Patient hands worked slowly, following traditions passed down across many generations. Fine linen wrapped gently around the body, layer after layer, with remarkable care. Sacred words were quietly spoken. Simple rituals were carefully followed. Everything was done with respect and with faith. Inside the tomb, many treasured objects were placed nearby. Comfortable furniture, beautiful jewelry, carefully crafted pottery, food, and small everyday tools. The ancient Egyptians believed these things would continue to be useful. In the next world, the walls of many tombs were covered with colorful paintings, scenes of family life, peaceful gardens, flowing rivers, birds in flight, fields of grain moving softly in the warm breeze. These images were more than decoration, they were symbols of the peaceful life the Egyptians hoped would continue forever. Among all the sacred writings, one collection became especially important. Today, we call it the Book of the Dead. It was not a single book, but a collection of gentle prayers, sacred words, and helpful guidance. It was believed to assist the soul as it traveled toward eternity. For thousands of years, these beliefs brought comfort to countless people living beside the Nile. They believed that kindness, truth, and balance were treasures more valuable than gold itself. And so, as another quiet night settled across ancient Egypt, the stars shone gently above the silent desert. The Nile continued its endless flow, and the dream of eternal life remained alive in the hearts of an ancient civilization. As one generation gently gave way to the next, Egypt continued to flourish. The fertile lands along the Nile produced abundant harvests. Trade routes reached farther than ever before, and peaceful towns slowly grew into magnificent cities. This was a time that many historians would later call Egypt's golden age. The kingdom was strong, its people were skilled, its temples became larger and more beautiful. With every passing century, stone columns rose high toward the clear blue sky. Their surfaces were covered with delicate carvings that told stories of kings, gods, and everyday life. The sound of chisels echoed softly as craftsmen patiently shaped massive blocks of stone. Nearby, artists mixed colorful pigments, red, blue, green, and brilliant gold. Each brushstroke was placed with remarkable care. The cities were filled with merchants, farmers, builders, scribes, priests, and travelers who had come from distant lands along the busy riverbanks. Wooden boats arrived quietly, carrying cedar wood, fine linen, precious stones, spices, and many other treasures. The Nile connected the kingdom like a peaceful road flowing gently from south to north. Knowledge also flourished. Young scribes spent many years learning to read and write the beautiful symbols we now call hieroglyphs. Every symbol was carefully drawn, every word recorded with patience. These writings preserved history, recorded great events, and carried knowledge across generations. As evening approached, the busy sounds of the day slowly faded away. The temples grew quiet, the markets closed, families returned home. The warm glow of the setting sun covered the land in soft golden light. For a little while, everything seemed peaceful, balanced, and timeless. It was an age of confidence, creativity, and quiet achievement. An age whose beauty can still be felt thousands of years later whenever we look upon the wonders of ancient Egypt. As one generation gently gave way to the next, Egypt continued to flourish. The fertile lands along the Nile produced abundant harvests. Trade routes reached farther than ever before, and peaceful towns slowly grew into magnificent cities. This was a time that many historians would later call Egypt's golden age. The kingdom was strong, its people were skilled, its temples became larger and more beautiful with every passing century. Stone columns rose high toward the clear blue sky. Their surfaces were covered with delicate carvings that told stories of kings, gods, and everyday life. The sound of chisels echoed softly as craftsmen patiently shaped massive blocks of stone. Nearby, artists mixed colorful pigments: red, blue, green, and brilliant gold. Each brushstroke was placed with remarkable care. The cities were filled with merchants, farmers, builders, scribes, priests, and travelers who had come from distant lands along the busy riverbanks. Wooden boats arrived quietly, carrying cedar wood, fine linen, precious stones, spices, and many other treasures. The Nile connected the kingdom like a peaceful road flowing gently from south to north. Knowledge also flourished. Young scribes spent many years learning to read and write the beautiful symbols we now call hieroglyphs. Every symbol was carefully drawn, every word recorded with patience. These writings preserved history, recorded great events, and carried knowledge across generations. As evening approached, the busy sounds of the day slowly faded away. The temples grew quiet, the markets closed, families returned home. The warm glow of the setting sun covered the land in soft golden light. For a little while, everything seemed peaceful, balanced, and timeless. It was an age of confidence, creativity, and quiet achievement. An age whose beauty can still be felt thousands of years later. whenever we look upon the wonders of ancient Egypt.